My friends, we begin today's Friday with a boom, kaboom, because Ukrainian partisans blew up a Russian train. But wait, that's not it. They blew it up 6,000 kilometers from Ukrainian border, so in the far east on the border with China. But wait, that's not it. They blew it up in a railway tunnel, in Russia's longest railway tunnel of 15 kilometers. And the tunnel goes at certain locations at the depth of 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters. But wait, that is not it. The train consisted of 50 carts, out of which 41 were diesel tanks and 3 were aviation fuel tanks. So you can imagine it was a grandiose kaboom. Now imagine that exploding in a tight tunnel. Russian local authorities reported that the damaging to the tunnel walls were extensive and this railway cannot be used for a lengthened period of time. The Russian government has started a criminal investigation under the Terrorism Act of who did it. Well, who done it? I think this will be your man Budanov. Yeah, the SBU did it. And the greatest thing is that there is a video. I will show it to you. So between Russia and China there are 2 railways, one of them very slow over the mountains and the other one, which was this tunnel, was the fastest one, the most direct one, through which most of the military aid and humanitarian or logistical aid from China and from North Korea was traveling into Russia. So now that this tunnel is damaged seriously or semi-destroyed, this aid will not stop, of course, because it can take the other route over the mountains, which will take more time, or it can take the maritime route via shipping lanes, which will also take a lot more time. So if Budanov now decides to pay back for his wife for the second time and damage the second railway link with Russia and China, this would seriously hinder the 2 countries' logistical connections. Now this attack, you can be sure that the local FSB authoritative will be flying out of the window because it was his responsibility to make sure nothing like that ever happens. If it happened, it's his failure and he's gonna pay for it. And in Russia they usually paid for it by hitting the ground very fast while flying through the air because gravity affects them. The Severomuisk tunnel was opened on December 5th, 2003. And it is the longest railway tunnel in Russia. The depth sometimes goes to 1 kilometer and the length is over 15 kilometers. Here is the map, and of course this attack is in Russia, in Russian country. It's not in Russia and China border, but it doesn't matter because the Far East in Russia is such a vast, unsettled area that the only connection and the only way to travel in that area is rail. And if you damage it, there is no other way. There are no paved roads. Even dirt roads are extremely dangerous during this time of the year. So you damage this road, there is only this other railway line which is a lot longer. See, if this would happen in any European Union country or in America, they would just switch to truck shipping or tens of other railway lines or plane shipping or maritime shipping. In Russia it's different. There are only these 2 railway lines. You take them both out, they're screwed. They cannot build another one. I mean, this railway line took 15 years to build in the 80s. Russian Far East is a mystery, my friends. And to really open it up to you what it really looks like, I just put in the coordinates of the exact explosion, and this is what came up. This is the photo, and actually it is true. So you might think, how is the real life in Russian Far East? Artur always talks that they don't have running water or toilets. Well, this is how it is. They have electricity, as you can see from the post here, but that's where the luxury ends. They don't have running water, they don't have plumbing. The toilets are usually outhouses, what you call in English, that you just go outside, you have this little box, you go in and there's a hole in the ground. That's what they have. They have goats, they have cows. Most of the people here are happy farming, but they don't have satellite television, they don't have internet mostly, and the heating is through stoves. Rural and almost like a tribal way of life in Russian Far East. That is the reality here. And I'm not here to criticize that, I'm not here to criticize poverty or lack of funding. I'm here to criticize the Russian government for taking away funding from these people, because they deserve it. They have oil in their lands, but they're not seeing a penny for it. My friends, in 2024, early 2024, I am going to the United States, or coming to the United States actually. So I want to say, if you are part of media or connected to the media in any kind of way,
please call my agent Brian. He is setting up things in America because of the time difference, and I am very busy with Ukrainian frontal updates. So the number is on the screen, the email is on the screen. Call him if you have connections in the media, if you are in the media. We're trying to do a media campaign to help Ukraine even more efficiently. And if I am in the United States, we can meet. Thank you, my friends.
My friends, there was Osce Meeting, or Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Osce. It took part in Northern Macedonia, Skopje, and Osce decided to let Russia take part in it. And after Estonia found out that Russia is allowed to take part, we boycotted, we didn't take part. Latvia, Lithuania did the same. Poland and Romania, and of course Ukraine. So these are the countries who decided to boycott and stay true to fighting Russia. What is the similarities between these countries who decided not to take part? Well, next to Russia, Soviet occupation, extensive deportations in the 40s. We all remember the Stalin deportations. We have no illusions about Russia. So if Russia takes part in anything, the Baltics, Poland and Ukraine will boycott. And I'm glad to be part of that because we see the truth the way Western Europe unfortunately yet doesn't. Malta is a compromise candidate and is replacing Estonia as 2024's Osce lead nation after, listen to this, Russia and Belarus vetoed Tallinn's Estonia's candidacy. Unanimity for the 57-member state organization is required for a state to take on the chair post. That means Estonia was a candidate for the chair leading nation of Osce, but since Russia is still allowed by the Osce board to take part in the meetings, they have a veto right. So the collective security meeting of Europe, European security is directly only connected to Russian aggression. That is who we are defending ourselves against. And that country, Russia, has a veto right in that meeting. For me, this is bizarre and stupid and it needs to change. But for countries in Western Europe, unfortunately, it hasn't really gotten to their heads yet. And in this video, when Sergey Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, started speaking in the Osce meeting, you can see that most of the country's representatives walked out. And I like to hear it. I would have loved if they would have boycotted the meeting, but the walking out is a second best thing. And here we have Sergey Lavrov speaking, and next to it, this is the representative of San Marino, and here is writing, sitting beside a war criminal, and you can see it in his face. It's of course a meme, but I wouldn't want to be sitting next to this guy. He's a complete lizard. My friends, I've never covered Vatnik Soup on my channel. It is in Twitter, it is threads about different people in Europe and in America and all over the Western NATO world who are paid by Russia, unofficially of course, because they are usually people with political influence or just influence, and they usually do or make choices in their lives and in their influence group that benefit Putin or Kremlin or FSB narratives. And today I will start with Vatnik Soup and I'll try to bring it on more often for you. It's every time it's different people, but it's good to talk about that as much as possible because everything hidden, sharing the Russian narrative, is a benefit for Putin. So I'm fighting to bring it all to light. Let's go, my friends. Let's undercover this Vatnik Soup guy here today. And today we're talking about the Dutch politician, the leader of the Party of Freedom, PVV, Geert Wilders. He's best known for his populist anti-immigration and anti-Islam rhetoric and for his warmth and close relations to the Kremlin. And look at his puppet. This one is a Kremlin's puppet. Let's read more about him. And just to bring out the context, this is a guy and other Vatnik Soup guys. They are guys who have immense political power in Europe and also in the United States. And they make choices according to Kremlin's narratives. And to fight against it, at least as best as I can, I would bring that information to you. And if you know that information, you have already done a great deal in fighting against Russian information warfare. After graduating from school, Geert dreamed of traveling around the world. He went to Israel and volunteered in an agricultural community known as Moshav in an Israeli settlement in the West Bank. After saving some money, he also traveled extensively to the neighboring Arab countries, calling them magnificent countries, but also chaotic. After returning home from Israel, he claimed to be having a special feeling of solidarity towards the country. Since then, he visited Israel over 40 times. After working in the health insurance industry for a while, Gerd got interested in politics. He started writing speeches for the Netherlands People's Party for Freedom and Democracy, VVD, after which he became a parliamentary assistant to the party's leader Frits Bolkestein. Bolkestein was the first Dutch politician to talk about the consequences of mass immigration of Muslims for Dutch society, which Gerd seems to admire greatly. Wilders copied Bolkestein's confrontational speaking style and his anti-immigration rhetoric. Now, I do have to say, any kind of politician in Europe right now who has right-leaning views is benefiting the Kremlin's rhetoric, because Putin wants to throw money at anybody who is against liberal democracy. Now, I'm just reporting the facts to you. I'm not giving my own opinions on this one, but I'm interested to read about yours, so put them in the comments. After becoming VVD's public spokesman in 2002, he became well known for his criticism of Islamic extremism. He also resisted Turkey's entry to EU. Wow! Due to this, he was expelled from the VVD parliamentary party, only to form his own Party of Freedom, or PVV for short. So the guy was expelled and he made his own following. In 2005, Wilders published his political manifesto suggesting changes like a ban on Islamic hate wear in public, closing of all doors for asylum seekers, stop on enlargement of EU, so stop, we're not accepting any more countries into the EU, ban on Islamic schools, and deportation of criminals with dual citizenship. So extremely harsh views towards anybody who is not white. In 2014 elections for the EU Parliament, PVV received 4 seats, tried to form a new parliamentary group together with France Front National. This coalition was then joined by Italy's Lega Nord and Austria's FPÖ. Each of these parties have had close ties to the Kremlin. And Kremlin is extremely interested in funding all of these parties, because every country in the EU has these parties and they're usually minorities. But Kremlin is throwing a lot of money at them, because anything populist, anything leaning right, and anything anti-immigration and even a slightly nationalist will sympathize with Kremlin's views, and in Kremlin's eyes, this demolishes the European democratic area and the political unity of the EU. So they're throwing money at everything that increases the influence of populist views, of nationalistic views, of right-leaning views. In Estonia, we also have a party like that called the Estonian Conservative People's Party. They promote themselves of being pro-Estonia, but in reality, they don't even know. They're like useful idiots that they are directly benefiting the Kremlin's narrative. By being right-leaning and being populist, Putin welcomes them in open arms. In October 2023, investigative journalist platform Follow the Money published an article about Wilders and PVV's connection to the Kremlin. The story was based on leaked documents that were allegedly hacked by a Ukrainian hacker group. It exposed various collaboration between Russian officials and PVV members, and most of this was coordinated through a Russian Peace Foundation, a pro-Kremlin propaganda organization of the right-wing populist parliamentarian Leonid Slutsky. The hacked document showed that Slutsky and his foundation have influenced and bribed Western politicians and decision makers for at least 10 years. These people were invited to election observation missions, events promoting traditional values, conferences, and anti-NATO and anti-EU events. Now, I do have to say here, yes, if you are living in Europe and you think you are anti-Kremlin, but you want to be conservative and a little bit right-leaning, respecting your nation, wanting to preserve your language, I understand these views, but these people who are like that in Europe don't really connect the dots that Kremlin benefits from every single person in Europe and United States who is right-leaning or populist or anti-immigration, who has traditional values. You know, Kremlin does not have traditional values. They don't respect Christianity because their priests are blessing nuclear weapons. Everything the Russian Orthodox Church does is directly against any kind of Orthodox values. I know, I'm baptized Orthodox and I've studied it in university. Russian Orthodoxy is a huge scam and an FSB organization. Now, but they promote themselves as traditional values and family values. Well, my friends, in Russia, Putin decriminalized home violence. Putin signed a law which says that police cannot interfere when a man is beating his wife because it's now decriminalized and it's their home issue. Cannot interfere. Meaning these traditional values are actually man beating a woman and man being fully superior to a woman. What the Kremlin sells to the West as propaganda is fully a scam and lie. And I see a lot of Western people falling for it because they don't know any better. I cannot blame them, honestly, because they get very tilted information. But Christianity and traditional values are two things that Russia definitely is not. They are only promoting it, but inside it's hollow, it's empty. Now, I'm not here to change anybody's mind, I'm just here to open up the information, and I'm very open to reading your comments, even if you think differently than I do. Now, this Vatnik Soup goes on for 10 more threads, 10 more tweets, and this guy is deeply connected to Kremlin's money, although he's fully European and fighting for European value. The money comes from Russia. Follow the money, then you know who is pushing the agenda. And in this case, it's Putin. Let me know also if you want me to continue the Vatnik Soup. Near the city of Rostov-on-Don, in Russia, 10 Russian soldiers died at an army training ground. The official version states that they made a fire in the wrong place, but actually it was a Ukrainian drone. And Rostov-on-Don is 250 kilometers from any Ukrainian-held area, so that means the drone had to travel 250 kilometers. Meaning, at the training ground, the drone operator had eyes on the ground who confirmed, yes, send the drone, because they cannot send an expensive drone like that in the darkness, in the blind. So they have a partisan group, local operatives who are watching the guys, okay, they're training, send the drone. Now the drone has to fly a few hours. I mean, 250 kilometers, that's 1 to 2 hours of flight, and then it lands. So it's an incredible operation involving a very good drone which can fly that long, eyes on the ground in a Russian military base in Rostov-on-Don, and a drone operator. A very well pulled off SBU operation. And if you don't connect what is Rostov-on-Don, then this is a city that opened their gates to Wagner. No shots fired, Wagner just took over the Russian headquarters in that city. It is also the city that this video comes from. It was made in August, so a few months ago, where these guys from Russian hidden mobilization were just funneled to the airfield. No food, no water, no medication, no gear. They were prepared for meat for the frontal assaults. So Rostov-on-Don is a place where everything goes through before it goes to Ukraine. And it is now in Ukrainian reach of fire. They have eyes on the ground. Now, my friends, the Russian losses of the past 24 hours, 1st of December 2023. Happy holidays, by the way. I don't know which holidays you have in your country. Everybody has different ones, but December, there's some holidays in your country, so happy holidays. We have 1,280 knocked out cold Russian personnel are sent to take a dirt nap, as many of you say in the comments. That indicates insane meat assaults in the Kupiansk direction, in the Avdiivka direction, and very big Ukrainian pushes over the Kherson River. 13 tanks, 32 armed personnel vehicles. In the past month, we have seen a decrease in losses of tanks, but an increase in losses of armored personnel vehicles, which indicates that for Russian factories, the tank factory, Uralvagon Zavod, who is making tanks, it's easier to make infantry fighting vehicles than tanks. I know this to be true also. Also, infantry fighting vehicles can carry 6, 7, 8 guys, a whole squad inside and a whole squad on top, while a tank can carry only a squad on top. So infantry fighting vehicles go much better with now Russian-styled meat assaults. So that's what they want to produce and push to the front lines. 22 artillery systems, 13 special equipment and 38 vehicles and fuel tanks. Yesterday, my friends, official information was released by Ukrainian parliament or Rada that Zelensky will continue as president and there will be no elections. Up until yesterday, we did not know if there will be elections coming in Ukraine, but no. Now we know. Until Ukrainian victory, Zelensky will be president, and after Ukrainian victory, no new elections can happen before 6 months after the end of the war. So after half a year, at the end of the war, there will be new elections and there will be a new president. History has shown it usually that after wars end, democratic nations elect new leaders. Wartime leader is a very specific thing in a democratic nation, much like Churchill. I am honestly glad to hear that they took this decision because Zelensky has the trust of the people. He is a hero for Ukrainian people, also a hero for the Western people. He is fighting and showing by example how to be brave. And to illustrate this is a video of Zelensky in Kupiansk district. In the last 3 days, Zelensky visited Avdiivka direction, Kupiansk direction and Bakhmut direction. So most areas, all of the areas on the front actually with the highest offensive operations by the Russian forces. So putting himself in danger, he wants to motivate his men, show by example, not by words or sentences. He actually goes there, he hands out awards, he talks to the men. He's much like Napoleon, who fought with his guys, not like Putin, who is always in a bunker. I respect that. I respect these actions. Now, my friends, it's Friday. I want to thank the Patreons. 5 new names who are tier 10 or above. I'll be butchering their names with my Estonian pronunciation. And last night we got some new Patreons, so thank you very much if you joined the channel, because Patreons are my security net. I go to Ukraine a lot, I cannot make videos. Some videos are demonetized, some are copyrighted, so Patreons do the job. Mikko Kauka, Suomi mainitud, Orilla tavataan, kiitos my friend. Mathias Ferraga, Thomas T. Lankei, Veeman 29397, Adam Livingston Gerard. Thank you to these 5 people, you have directly helped me help Ukraine. Until my next video, which will be on Monday, Slava Ukraini, and bye bye.